On October 7th, the trial of Anthony Rapp versus Kevin Spacey kicked off and got quickly off to the races. Let's get into it. Hey everyone, welcome to Legalbytes. If you're new here, my name is Alita. I'm a lawyer licensed in California and DC, and on this channel, we analyze the facts in the law and make reason-based conclusions one bite at a time. So before we get into what's happening in the trial here, let me first give you a little bit of background context so that we're all on the same page here. In 2017, the actor Anthony Rapp came out with certain SA allegations against another actor, Kevin Spacey. If you're not familiar with Anthony Rapp, he's done a lot of work on Broadway. He's done a lot of work on Broadway, notably in the original cast of Rent, and recently starred in Star Trek Discovery. And if you're not familiar with Kevin Spacey, you may not have seen The Usual Suspects or American Beauty, House of Cards, or a number of other big notable projects that the Academy Award winner has been a part of and starred in over the years. Anyway, Rapp apparently made allegations against Spacey without naming him all the way back in 2001, but didn't identify him until 2017. But according to Rapp, back in 1986, when the two were at a party together in New York City, Spacey allegedly grabbed Rapp's behind, lifted him up, put him on the bed, and rested his body on top of him before making a sexual advance. Rapp says that it wasn't consensual, but there's another very important part to this story. At the time, Rapp was 14 years old and Spacey was 26. From a PR standpoint, Spacey's response to the allegations made publicly in 2017 was not exactly well received. He basically took to Twitter to say he was horrified to hear of the allegations by Anthony Rapp against him, that he didn't remember the encounter given it was 30 years ago, that he was sorry about his potentially deeply inappropriate drunken behavior, and that actually he's gay and now coming out of the closet. Basically, this sparked outrage as people seemed to see Spacey's statement as a diversionary tactic of using coming out of the closet to the public at large. Anyway, after that, in September 2020, Rapp and a co-defendant who filed under the alias CD filed a formal lawsuit against Spacey in New York. It's now being litigated in the U.S. District Court for the Southern District of New York, but without the co-defendant who has since been dropped from the case. Rapp continues as the sole plaintiff with claims of battery and intentional infliction of emotional distress, seeking $40 million from Spacey. But that's not the only legal trouble that Spacey's seen in recent years regarding these kinds of allegations. For starters, a judge has already ordered Spacey to pay $31 million to House of Cards producers MRC back in late 2020 because his contract constituted a material breach of his acting and executive producing agreements. There also was a similar SA federal case that was brought against Spacey in Los Angeles by a massage therapist, which was actually dropped in December 2019 after that masseuse passed away. Then there was a criminal case that was also brought against Spacey for similar allegations, but that one was dropped in July 2019 after the alleged victim refused to testify. There was also a related civil case, which was similarly dropped for similar reasons. But aside from the case filed by Rapp, there appears to be another case against Kevin Spacey, again for similar accusations, which is still moving ahead towards trial later in 2023. And that is a criminal case out of London where he's pled not guilty to charges against SA against 3 men between March 2005 and August 2008. Now, the Rapp v. Spacey trial kicked off on Friday with a very fast start. Not only did they pick a jury, but they were able to go through opening statements for both sides and proceed with plaintiff testimony. Because it's a federal case, there are no cameras in the courtroom here, so we unfortunately have to rely on the media's reporting on this one, and we're not able to evaluate the witness testimony for ourselves. If you've been following this channel for a while, you know that from time to time, reporting on trials gets, let's just say, a little bit mishandled. But for now, at least, it seems like that's probably going to be the best we're going to get as far as information coming from the courtroom is concerned. So we've got to work with what we can get. Anyway, according to Deadline, the opening statements presented not just 2 different perspectives on what happened, but essentially 2 different realities. For Rapp's attorney, Peter Seguir, the matter was pretty cut and dry. What happened to Anthony is something that never should have happened, the lawyer told the judge and jury. The conduct here involved a 14-year-old boy and a 26-year-old man. Seguir added, showing a photo of Rapp back in 1986 to emphasize how young the actor looked and was. After detailing the incident and drawing from an earlier deposition of Rapp's, Seguir exclaimed that his client tried to get out of Spacey's pad. The old actor leaned over the doorway and asked, "Are you sure you want to go?" For Spacey's side, his attorneys definitely took a very different tack. On the other side of the courtroom, as Spacey himself looked on, the American Beauty actor's attorney Jennifer Keller derided Rapp as jealous, untruthful, and unreliable. He never became the international star that Kevin Spacey did, Keller said, outlining her position that the incident was not only made up, but parts of it were lifted from Precious Sons, the Broadway production he was featured in back in 1986. He has been simmering with resentment all this time, the attorney said of Rapp, mockingly claiming he peaked in 2000 when the actor starred in Rent. Keller also went after Rapp for allegedly spreading the story about Spacey for years, but never going to the authorities or mentioning it publicly. The attorney additionally went on to claim that the apartment Spacey lived in where the alleged misconduct occurred was so small that Rapp's depiction of events could not have happened. This is a case of objective facts refuting the tale that Mr. Rapp tells, Keller told the jurors in a trial that looks like it could be wrapped up in a week at this pace. Given the vast differences between the angles that both sides are taking here, this case looks like it's not going to be a nuanced trial at all, and both sides are going to need to be backed up by some strong evidence. Speaking of evidence, after opening statements, they were able to jump right into the testimony in Rapp's case in chief. First, Andrew Holtzman testified that he was groped by Spacey in 1981 when Holtzman, who was 27 years old at the time, worked at the Public Theater, and Spacey, who was 20, was an actor in the nonprofit organization's Shakespeare Festival. According to Variety magazine, prior to Rapp's testimony, Andrew Holtzman testified that he was groped by Spacey in 1981. At the time, Holtzman worked at the Public Theater and Spacey was an actor in the nonprofit organization's Shakespeare Festival. Holtzman alleged that he was working in his office when Spacey entered and attempted to force himself on the man. He said that he had recognized Spacey, then an obscure actor, from a photograph in the playbill. When Spacey entered the room, he was wearing tight blue jeans and had a very clear, large erection. Holtzman grew alarmed after the actor approached him aggressively. He sort of lifted up my crotch and pushed me back on my desk, Holtzman said. As Holtzman fell backwards, he said he screamed things. He added that Spacey said absolutely nothing during the alleged encounter. Spacey eventually stormed out of the office. I sat there completely in shock, Holtzman said. I started to blame myself. He went on to add that he never told anyone at the Public Theater about the misconduct, but said he had told friends over the ensuing decades before posting about it on Facebook in 2017. The experience is almost a blur, Holtzman said. Everything was in a slow motion. It's a memory that I can't forget. And as a testament to the absolute speed of this trial so far, Anthony Rapp, the plaintiff in this case, testified after Holtzman. According to NBC News, Rapp, speaking with a pained expression and sometimes closing his eyes as he gathered his thoughts, told jurors that he knew something was really wrong when Spacey allegedly grabbed his buttock, lifted him up, put him on a bed, and rested his body on top of him. I didn't ask for him to do that, Rapp told jurors on the second day of his trial against Spacey. I didn't want him to do that. Rapp is expected to continue his testimony on October 11th, when trial picks up again after the holiday weekend. Now, there are certain hurdles that the parties in a case like this are going to need to overcome. Particularly, we're talking about testimony that includes allegations by witnesses that go as far back as 1981. That is around 40 years ago. So one of the first challenges that these parties have is time. As I've said on my channel many times, the longer that time passes, the more credibility issues a witness is likely to have. And that's because every single witness that testifies is going to be evaluated by the jury for any potential biases, for their ability to perceive what they're testifying to at the time that they actually perceived it, and for their memory of those events over that period of time. Memory is a fickle thing, and the more that time passes, the greater the likelihood that it can get bent by suggestion, framing by other experiences, age, drugs or alcohol, and more. And when we're talking about traumatic memories, there's an even greater risk that those memories can be altered over time. As an example that we just went over earlier, Andrew Holtzman himself testified at the same time that the experience was almost a blur and that it's a memory that he can't forget. This is something that the jury has to square with every single witness. And Holtzman's memory was something that was seized upon by Spacey's attorneys on cross-examination. According to Variety, attorneys for Spacey pressed Holtzman to acknowledge that he was 27 at the time of the alleged incident and Spacey was 20. They wanted to emphasize that the age gap was very different from the one between Spacey and Rapp, and that Holtzman was not a minor. Spacey's side also tried to cast doubt on Holtzman's memory of the incident by sharing a playbill from the production. They noted there were no photographs of Spacey to be found in the printed material. And this, of course, is relating to the portion of Holtzman's direct examination testimony where he said that he knew that it was Spacey because he had recognized his photo from that playbill. But that said, even with memory issues being present, the jury may still evaluate these witnesses and conclude that while their memory doesn't seem to be the clearest around the edges, they're nonetheless credible witnesses as to the most important pieces of that testimony. But those are my thoughts. What do you think? Do you think too much time has passed for these witnesses to be able to reliably testify against Spacey? Do you think too much time has passed for Spacey to reliably testify? What do you think about the relative positions that the two sides have taken in their opening statements? Let us know in the comments down below. And if you found this interesting or at least informative, I would love it if you could hit the like button. It does help us with the YouTube algorithm gods. And if you want to see more content like this and you haven't done so already, be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you can find out when the next video is uploaded. See you in the next video.